Triangles. And we're going to talk about classifying triangles today. There are two ways that you classify triangles. And we're going to talk about those. Obviously, you know your triangle is a three-sided figure. Algebra. Okay. What in algebra are we doing? So we can classify triangles by angles and by sides. So those are how you are going to classify triangles. And you're going to do both, actually. You're going to call it an angle, along with a side. But let's think about the sides first. I'm actually going to switch that in my slide presentation. What is the possibilities? Like, you have three different possibilities for triangles. Either all the sides could be equal, two of the sides could be equal, or none of the sides could be equal. Okay? That is going to be the sides, no matter what. They're all three of them are going to be equal, two of them are going to be equal, or none of them are going to be equal. And when we look at this, we see that we have three little dashes here. That means that these are all the same length. We might not know the number associated with it, but we know that they're equal. It is what we call an equilateral triangle. Now, if we only have two sides that are equal, that's called an isosceles triangle. And then if all three sides, and that's why you see a 1, a 2, and a 3, with all three of those dashes, that means no sides are equal. So we have all three sides, two sides, or one side. And we only have a three-sided figure, so that's all the choices we have. So they are going to fall into one of those three categories for the sides. Okay? So our sides are either going to be equilateral, isosceles, or scalene. Now, the angles actually fall into four. We know what happens with our angle measures. We have the acute angles, which go from almost 0 to almost 90. Then we have a 90-degree angle. Then we have over 90 to 180. And then once you hit the 180, it's a straight angle. Now, the problem with the straight angle is you can't have a triangle with a straight angle. There's no way to do that. If you think about the concept of what a triangle is, a triangle has an angle here, an angle here, and then an angle up here. And then you connect all three of those, and that's what forms your triangle. If I were to have a straight angle, that means that this side would have to fold in to the actual triangle, and this side would have to fold in to the actual straight angle. So you would almost just have a flat line where there would be a side here to the middle and a side there to the middle. And that just really isn't possible. It's not a real triangle. So that's why you don't have a straight angle triangle. There's not really a such thing. All right, so let's go back to our angles. So we have an acute, which means all of them are going to be less than 90. Okay? Now, does an equiangular kind of fall into the acute triangle? Yes, but it's a very specific angle in the triangles for this, because an equiangular, and we call it equiangular, means that all the angles are equal. And the only way to get all three angles equal is to be 60 degrees, because all angles in a triangle have to add together, you guessed it, to give you 180 degrees. Now, there is a right triangle, which makes a right angle, and you can always tell a right angle, a 90-degree angle, by the box in the corner. It will always have a box. If it doesn't indicate with a box, then it's not a 90-degree triangle, even if it looks like it. And then the last one is obtuse, where it's greater than 90. So you can have triangles that fall into these categories. So you can see this is a right angle. These above a right 90 degrees is going to be an obtuse. Here's another obtuse. All these are less than 90. Those going to be an acute. And then this is equiangular because they're all the same. And then the same thing. All three sides are different. 1, 2, 3. That's a scalene. Then you have an isosceles, another scalene, an isosceles, and then an equilateral. All right. And then you are special just like these three scenarios. So with an isosceles triangle, you can see from our picture, when we have an isosceles, these two sides actually form two equal angles. Just like, remember the equilateral, if all three sides are equal, that means all three angles are going to be equal. Well, if two sides are equal, that means that the angles opposite them are going to be equal as well. Okay? So, if any isosceles triangle has two equal sides, therefore the two angles that are across from each other from those sides are equal as well. Same thing vice versa. If you have two angles that are equal, two angles, then that means that the sides across from them are going to be equal as well. Equilateral, if you have three sides that are equal, therefore all three angles are equal and it's 60 degrees. If you have three equal angles, then all three sides are equal. So, we are going to play a quick little game. And I made a Kahoot for it tomorrow. So, here is 2 of 10. Identify this triangle based on sides and angles. Oh. Sorry about that. I can't stand the Kahoot noise. All right, so first off, we have what kind of angle? This is our indicator. We have a right angle and two equal sides. So if we have a right angle and two equal sides, going back to here, we have a right isosceles triangle. Hey, I'm on the board. All right. Next, number 3. Identify this triangle based on sides and angles. So, I see a 1, 2, 3. I remember that 1, 2, 3 is a scalene triangle. And then below 90, and below 90, that's an acute scalene triangle. All right, we see 3 equal sides. So that means it's equilateral. But is it equilateral and isosceles? Is it equiangular and acute? No. Here is your, where did our properties go? If it's equilateral, it is equiangular. If it's equiangular, then it's equilateral. So, anytime you see one, you better have the other. Equiangular and equilateral. Identify. All right, I see a right angle in the corner. That's what that box indicates, 90 degrees. And then when we look at this, a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So all 3 sides are different numbers. So that makes it a right scalene triangle. Booyah, baby. All right. Next one. I see 2 equal sides, which means 2 equal angles. The 2 equal sides talks about an isosceles triangle. Then looking at the angles, we see that they are all less than 90 degrees. So am I looking at isosceles obtuse? Isosceles equiangular? Well, if it's equiangular, it needs to be equilateral. Those two have to partner up. So it's got to be an isosceles acute triangle. Number 7. We have an angle that is over 90 degrees. And then 3 different angles, 3 different numbers. So I would say this is an obtuse scalene triangle. All right, 2 more. Or 3 more. I don't know. All right. 3 equal angles means 3 equal sides, equal angular, equilateral, or equilateral, equal angular. They got to be partners no matter what. Partner up. Number 9. Okay, so I see 1, 2, 3 different angles, and then this is a really big angle. And if I know that I have 3 different angles, that means I'm going to have 3 different side lengths. Okay? So this is an obtuse scalene triangle. I'm just trying to throw some tricky ones in at the end. All right, next one. Last one. Identify triangles based on sides and angles. Okay, so I was hoping that people would see that this is a square. And so this side is 4, that side's 4, this is 4, that's 4. And so if I have a 4 and a 4, and I've got a right angle, then that is going to be a right isosceles triangle. Hey, we did it. I got first place. Save this link and come back to the podium once the challenge has finished. Oh, nice. All right. So let me stop.